Welcome to our morning yoga class from Playa Grande, Costa Rica. We're going to start seated, cross-legged position, and we'll just close our eyes and sit up nice and tall for a moment, feeling that the sits bones are rooting down into the floor and the shoulders are relaxing down away from the ears. Imagine that we have a little string that's kind of pulling gently the top of the head. So we have this energy running up and down through the spine. On your next exhalation, let your chin drop down towards your chest and just let your head kind of hang there and feel how the gravitational pull on the head allows for an opening through the back of the neck. On an inhalation, we'll lift the head, exposing the throat, and as we exhale, we'll lower the chin back down. And we'll do that 2 more times, breathing in to lift the head and breathing out to lower. And breathing in to lift and breathing out to lower. And then from here, we'll keep that head down, but we'll tilt it over to the right until we feel a nice stretch along the left side of the neck. We'll breathe into that left side, and then we'll let the head drop down through the middle again and over to the right. So we're kind of taking time, stretching each side of the back of the neck, and just kind of move from side to side at your own pace. If one side feels tighter than the other, maybe you hang out there for slightly longer. And then the next time we go to the right, we'll keep moving in that direction. So we're now taking a big circle around, trying not to hurry through the parts that feel tighter. The next time the head goes down through the middle, we'll go over the other way. And then we'll sit up nice and tall. So I'm going to quarter turn just so it's a little easier to see. We'll do our shoulder circles. You guys can stay facing the same direction. And when I do my shoulder circles, I'm not just thinking about up and down, but I'm also thinking about when my shoulders move forward in space, there's room between the shoulder blades, and when they move back in space, there's room at the collarbone. So I'm really taking my time to feel all 4 directions here. And then I'll, keeping that in mind, reverse my direction. And then I'll go ahead and sit up tall again, taking both arms out to the sides. The right arm will come down and the left arm will reach up and over. So we're stretching out that left side of the torso. I'll press into the right hand to come through center and over the other way. And then I'll press into the left hand to return, and I'll go back to that first side. And we're going to hang out here and do some variations. So the very first thing I'm going to do is turn my gaze down towards the floor. And then I'm going to reach my left arm up towards the ceiling and down over towards the left. So I'm kind of lengthening my hand away from where my head is reaching. And hopefully I'm starting to feel a little stretch here along that back left side of the neck that we were working on earlier. When you're ready, float your left arm back over towards the right and look forward. And then just as we did before, we'll press into the hands to come up and over the other way. So we're looking down to begin. We're reaching the hand away. I'm stretching that right back side of the neck. When you're ready, take the arm back to where it was, bring the gaze back to center, and we'll press off to return. From here, we'll take both arms overhead, trying to keep the shoulders down, and we'll do an easy rotation to the right, left hand to the right knee, looking over your right shoulder. When you're ready, come back through center, reaching overhead again, and we'll go the other way. So let's come back to center, arms come up, hands go interlaced behind the head. As we exhale, we'll draw the elbows together, drawing the chin down. As we inhale, we'll open the chest and the gaze lift up. And then keep the hands where they are, but sit up nice and tall. And we'll just make a big arc on the left side of the torso. So I'm dropping my right elbow down and reaching my left elbow up. I'm returning through center and going over the other. Okay, so let's release that. The upper body should be feeling pretty open. Let's bring our focus to the lower body. So we'll go ahead and come into child's pose to begin. And I'm doing a nice wide stance child's pose today. So my knees are separated, but my toes are together. And I'm going to take my arms out in front of me and let my head relax down. So right now we're getting a nice compression in our hips. And when you're ready, go ahead and come onto all fours. My hands are right underneath my shoulders and my knees are right underneath my hips. So we're going to do a cat-cow with a leg extension. My right leg is extended behind me. As I inhale, I'm going to lift my chest, my gaze, and my leg. And then when I exhale, I'm going to pull the knee in towards the nose and curl through the spine. Inhale to reach, lift and lengthen. Exhale to return. One more time. Inhale to reach, lift and lengthen. And exhale to pull in. And go ahead and release the right knee down, and we'll start the left side. The left leg lengthens as we lift, and we pull in and curl on the exhalation. Inhaling to reach, and exhaling in. One more time. Inhaling, reach, and exhaling in. And then go ahead and take that left knee back down, and we're just going to make little movements from side to side with the hips. We're trying to open our gluteus medius. It's our little glute that's kind of on the side of your seat, and it keeps your femur bone in place where it inserts into your hip. And now from here, we can come into our first downward facing dog. So we have nice flat hands and nicely wide spaced fingers as we press the seat back and try to extend the legs as best we can. Now, when we haven't done this in a while, we'll find that the knees perhaps bend a little bit more than they used to, or that your heels maybe don't go quite as close down to the floor. That's okay. Let's take turns opening up one side at a time. So I'm bending my right knee. I'm sending all of my energy into that left leg, and I'm trying to extend it and lengthen it as best I can. And then I'll go ahead and switch to the other side, taking all of my energy to that right side. Now at your own pace, we'll go from side to side. And then we'll go ahead and lift both heels up high and bring both knees down to the floor. So from here, I'm going to come to stand up on my knees. I'm bringing my hands onto my hips, and I'm taking a big step forward with my right foot. I want to have my right ankle in front of my knee so that when I shift my hips forward, my ankle and my knee are in line again. From here, let your arms dangle down. Feel like the shoulders are being pulled down, and maintain that pulling down feeling of the shoulders as you reach your arms forward and up. And we'll come into a nice crescent pose. Crescent pose, the goal is extension of the hip, and you can also do extension of the spine, but we want to really focus on opening up that back hip, so don't feel like you have to scrunch your lower back to arch as much as possible. So from here, we'll start our standing series, because for some people, stepping back and forth when you first get back into yoga can be a little challenging. So I scooted my right foot a little closer in, so it's underneath my knee. I have my hands down, and I'm going to tuck my back toes and come into a lunge. And from here, if preferred, you can use a yoga block underneath your left hand. We're going to reach our right arm up and come into a nice rotation. So even though I'm not in that crescent pose where I have that kind of arc shape, I should still feel that my back hip is completely extended here. So there's a nice straight line happening from my hip to my heel. Now, when you're ready, replace that right hand. We're gonna roll that back heel down so that your toes are kind of turned out diagonally towards the side, and we'll lift the arms and come into our first warrior one. So we're making that nice 90-degree angle shape. The back hip should feel pretty open, nice parallel arms, and my torso is facing forward. From here, we'll move into our warrior two, opening the arms, the shoulders, and the hips, but keeping the gaze facing forward. We're just looking over the right fingertips. On an inhalation, we'll extend the front leg straight, and then we'll come into triangle pose, lengthening out through the arm as the hips pull in the opposite direction before bringing the hands down. So the hand can either be on your leg or on your yoga block in front of the leg. Either is fine. From here, we'll come all the way up. We'll reach out through both arms, and we'll bend the front knee again to warrior two. And then from our warrior two, again, you can use a block if preferred. We'll bring the right hand down inside the leg. So here is our extended angle A. We want to try and square our hips as best I can. So we're deeply bending that front knee, but not so much that the toe extends, or the knee rather extends over your toes. Okay, so let's bring both hands down at either sides of our front foot, and we'll take that back heel off the floor. And then from here, we're going to try to step all the way back into downward facing dog. On an inhalation, float forward into your plank, and I want you to just hold your plank here for a moment. Make sure that your hip joint is totally extended, that your abdominal muscles are pulling in, and then slowly with control, we'll lower down onto our mat, and we'll point the toes. From here, press into the hands, and take upward facing dog, and just pause here for a moment so you can really focus on pulling the shoulder blades down and together and opening through the collarbones. And then when you're ready, press back into your dog pose again, and we'll hold and breathe. So it's interesting to do a whole series on one side and pause in dog for a moment, because you really can feel the difference in one side to the other. Let's go ahead and even things out. So first thing, we're going to lift our heels up high, and then we'll lower the knees down towards the floor. Once the knees are down, we'll come to stand up on the knees, and we'll bring our hands onto our hips. From there, big step forward with that left foot, and remember your ankle needs to be in front of your knee so that when you shift forward for crescent, we have that nice line up again. Arms reach down, shoulders pull down as the arms reach forward and overhead. And again, our focus is the back leg, but you can, if you like, add a little bit of an extension in the spine. From here, we're going to press into the front foot just a bit so we can get the hands down. And then we'll scoot that front foot in a little bit so I have that right angle with my front leg. Then I'll extend my back leg and I'll find a nice low lunge here, making sure, again, we have extension in that back leg so I don't have my seat above the knee. Press down deeply into your right hand. And then when you're ready, lift your left arm up. Again, you can use a yoga block here underneath the right hand if that feels more stable, or like you can get more deeply into the pose. When you're ready, float the left hand down, and we'll roll that back foot down completely so we can lift the arms up for warrior one. When you're ready, open the arms, shoulders, and hips for warrior two. Keep the gaze over that front hand. On an inhalation, we extend the leg, and on an exhalation, we take triangle, reaching the hips and the left arm away from each other as we lower down. And we're trying to make a nice flat shape here. On an inhalation, draw yourself back upright. As you exhale, bend the front knee to warrior two again. We're going to take our left hand inside the left foot, and this is one where a block can be really helpful. And once you're situated there, try to bring those hips back into that right angle shape. And if possible, gaze upwards. You can also just gaze out in front of you. From here, both hands come down to either side of the front foot. My back heel is now up. I'm going to step all the way back into my downward facing dog. And again, I'm just going to see how that feels. Hopefully things feel a little more evened out than they did before. On an inhalation, we'll come forward to plank. We'll find that extension on both hips, so my seat is not lifting up. Obviously, my abdominal muscles and my arm muscles are working. I'm going to keep that control as I slowly lower down. And then I'll point the toes. I'll take my upward facing dog. I'll make sure my shoulders are down, my chest is open. And then on an exhalation, I'll find my way back into dog again. So one thing that's challenging generally, and also when you first get back into your practice, is stepping your foot all the way through between the hands. And part of the reason why we haven't done that yet is because that part can be really hard when you're first starting again. So we're going to do a couple swings. My right leg floats up and back into three-legged dog. As I exhale, I'm going to swing my knee in towards my chest as I shift forward into plank. and then I'll reach and lift it back on my inhalation. So I exhale forward, inhale, reach. Exhale forward, inhale, reach. Let's float that right foot back down, and we'll do 3 on the other side. The left leg reaches up, we exhale in, and inhale out. Exhale in, and inhale out. Exhale in, and inhale out. And go ahead and float that left foot back down. Okay, so let's now try to use the momentum of the swing to step forward. So we're gonna do 1 swing and then 1 step forward. We'll start with the left leg lifted up and back. We'll exhale to pull in. Inhale, reach up again. And then exhale, step the foot all the way through. And if you have to squidge it around or even use your hand to move it forward to get it where it needs to be, that's fine. From here, keeping that back heel off the floor, extend both arms up. So it's kind of similar to Warrior One, except it's not turned out with that back foot. So you should feel a lot more of an opening here in the hip joint. Okay, so I'm gonna straighten my front leg, and my arms are still up. Keeping a nice straight front leg, I'm just gonna step that back foot forward a little bit so I can take the heel down. And then I'll bring both of my hands onto my hips. From here, pyramid pose, elbows pull together behind me. I'm gonna lift my heart as I inhale. And then as I exhale, I'm gonna fold forward, taking my hands down to my shin. Now I can also, if I have yoga blocks available, place hands on blocks. I don't, I'm using my water bottle as a faux block, but just so you have an idea of where the block should go. And then once you've figured out whether your hands are on a block, on the floor, or on your leg, you can let that head relax down completely. Now, let's work our way into rotated triangle. The left hand has to have a pretty solid connection to the floor or your block. The right hand will go onto the right hip. I'm going to rotate my chest toward the right, and I'm going to reach my right arm up. Great, let's go ahead and release down. If you're using blocks, you may want to put them to the side. We're gonna bend the knees if you have to get your hands down, and then you're gonna take your back heel off the floor. From here, we're gonna step that leg forward so my left knee comes outside my right foot. So now I'm ready for seated spinal twist. I've got my right leg pointing straight up, my left knee pointing straight forward. My left arm reaches up, and I can either press my elbow against my knee to rotate around, or I can hug my knee to rotate around. Let's come to face forward and do a brief counter twist, rotating around the other way. Trying to sit up as tall as you can while you're doing so. And then we'll face forward again. We'll take that top leg around all the way behind us. So this is one of my favorite transitions. So we're gonna come into pigeon from our seated spinal. So I've got my front leg turned out. And before I fold over, I wanna work on extending the back leg some. So I'm kind of pressing my hands down into the floor. My hips are not as low down as they could be. And I'm just trying to lift my spine as best I can to allow for a greater opening in that back hip. And then when I'm ready to transition, I'll let those hips settle down, and I'll slowly walk my arms out in front of me. So you can either do forearms down, or you can have the arms extended all the way straight if you have the space to do so. Okay, so we're gonna start to walk our hands back in. This is not the easiest transition for some. Deeply press into your hands. Take your back toes tucked and extend that back leg so you can step back to plank, nice strong plank. And then from here, slowly, with control, lower down, find your up dog. And then come back to downward facing dog, and we'll hold there for a moment. And again, this is one of those times when you do everything on one side, you can feel the difference from one side versus the other. So let's do that swinging step through on the left. We're going to start with the left leg up. Nice deep breath in as you lift. Full breath out as you swing in and forward. Deep breath in as you lift. This time when you swing through, step your foot through. And if you only get halfway, that's okay. Just use your hand to bring the foot all the way through. Once it's there, press down into the feet to lift the arms up. And I want to try to really sink down a little lower than I can get to in a warrior one. Your back heel is still off the floor. Whenever you're ready, we're going to take the back heel down. So I'm extending my front leg to do that. My feet are not as far away from each other as they were before. Arms open out, hands come onto the hips, and we take our pyramid pose, pulling the elbows together, lifting the chest, and folding forward. Drawing the hands again to your shin or blocks if you prefer. Even the floor, if you can reach, but trying to maintain an extension of that front leg. And then once you feel like you've got that, you can lower the head and breathe deeply in and out. So, prepping for our rotated triangle. If needed, place your right hand on a block. The left hand comes onto the left hip. I'm rotating my torso towards the left, and then I'm extending my left arm up. Take your time to release both hands back down to the floor at either sides of your front leg, which you might have to bend your knee in order to do that. That's okay. We're taking the weight off the back foot so we can step the knee right outside the left foot. So I'm ready for my seated spinal. My left knee is forward, my right knee is up. My right arm comes up, and I take my seated spinal on the other side. So again, you can do the press or you can do the hug. When you're ready, come back through center and over the other way. And then we'll face forward again. We'll take that top leg all the way around. And first, again, I'm just pressing into the hands. I'm trying to create as much of an opening in the back hip as possible by lifting the chest. And then when you're ready, draw your focus to the front hip by folding forward. You can do forearms down or arms extended all the way straight. When you're ready, start to walk the hands in. Tuck your back toes. Find the strength in the arms and the back leg to step back into your plank. And then slowly with control, you return to the floor. Inhale, upward facing dog. exhale, press back, downward facing dog. And hopefully we feel that we've evened things out some in the body. We'll hold this dog pose. So when you're ready, come back to plank again. We're going to lower all the way down onto our mat, and we'll do our back bending and some chest opening movements as well. So we'll take our face to the floor and our arms along the sides of the body. So I've got my tip of my nose or my forehead resting down here. And I'll just come into a standard locust pose to begin. So my hands are going to stay down, my legs, my head, my chest lift up. When I release down, I'll turn my head to one side. If I like, I can scooch my hips a bit from side to side. Nice way to help the muscles in the back relax. And here, the head comes back to center. I'll draw the legs all the way together. Now, we're going to do bound locust. That requires interlacing your fingers. If that's not available to you, grab your yoga strap and you'll hold your yoga strap with your hands as close together as you can. For bound locust, we press down into the feet. We lift first our arms away from our seat, and then we bear down into our feet to lift the upper body. So I'm kind of pulling those hands down to lift up and pressing down into my feet to lift up. Okay, let's release down. Release your hands or your strap if you're using one. Turn your head to face the other direction. And then whatever direction your head is facing, we're going to stretch the opposite quadricep. So right now I'm currently looking towards the left. I'm going to grab a hold of my right foot and pull my heel toward my seat. Okay, let's do the other side. Turn your head the opposite direction. Bend the opposite knee and grab the other foot. The bow pose is really challenging when you haven't done it in a while, so we're taking the time to open up a few different areas of the body before we attempt to do so. We did our spinal extension. Now we're doing our quad opening, which will make it easier for us to grab our feet for our bow. And we're going to do our chest opening next. So, release your foot. Bring your head back to center. This is one of my favorites. Hands are underneath the shoulders. My right arm will go out to the side. I'm going to press into the opposite hand to roll to the right side of the body. And then I'm going to take that top leg behind me. Now, some people prefer to do this pose with the knee bent and the sole of the foot on the floor. It's really up to you. Either one is correct. And for now, I'm going to keep both hands down on the floor. We'll do the other variation where we lift the arm a little later. Let's roll back to center. Let's switch the hands. And then turn the head the opposite way before rolling to the other side. And again, your leg can be knee bent and reaching upwards, or the leg can be extended straight. let's come back to center and we'll switch the arms again. So rolling to that first side. This time, once you feel stable, go ahead and reach the opposite arm up towards the ceiling or sky. If you're practicing outside like me. And then if it feels accessible to you, you can start to reach that arm back in space. Okay, let's find our way back. Switch the arms and go over the other way. This is our last one. Again, when you feel stable, you can lift the arm. And if it feels okay to do so, you can start to pull it back in space. Okay, let's come back to center. Arms are going to be along the sides of the body. We're going to bend the knees. We're going to, one at a time, grab a hold of our feet. And then we're going to kick our feet back into our hands to lift up for our full bow. When you're ready, go ahead and release down. We're going to have both of our hands underneath our shoulders. We're going to send our seat back towards our heels. And we'll do a traditional child's pose. Knees together, the arms reach back towards your feet, and the head hangs down. When you're ready, roll yourself up to sit. And we're just gonna sit down on one side of our feet and extend the legs forward. And I'm just gonna scoot around because I'm facing the sun, but you guys can stay exactly where you are. And we'll do another seated spinal twist. This time we'll do the version where the bottom leg is extended. So I've got my right foot crossed over my left. I'm gonna either hug or press the left arm against the right and rotate towards the right. And then I'll go ahead and come to face forward and I'll rotate around the other way. Face forward again, and instead of doing the other side, let's go straight into head to knee pose. So my right knee is out towards the side, my left leg is extended. If you need to use the strap, loop it over your foot now. We'll sit up nice and tall as we inhale and fold forward as we exhale. So reminder, your front leg is extended straight in this pose, even if that means you can't go as far down. And we want to try to release the head as much as we can so we can use the weight of the head to guide us down towards the floor. When you're ready, come on up and we'll switch our feet. So reminder, we're doing seated spinal first. So we're going to take left foot over right. We're going to hug or press the right arm against the left leg, and we're rotating toward the left. Come to face forward, rotate around the other way briefly. And then we'll take our head to knee on the other side. So my left knee is now pointed out toward the side, and I'm gonna fold forward over that right leg. So again, I've quarter turned, you guys can stay right where you are. When you're ready, go ahead and roll yourself up to sit, and we'll extend both legs straight. If needed, use your strap. Nice long spine as you breathe in and folding forward as you breathe out. For seated forward bend. Take your time, roll yourself up to sit as you inhale. We'll bend both knees. We'll bring the knees out to the sides and the soles of the feet. Not together necessarily, because I feel like that promotes the knees coming up. I like to imagine I can open my feet like I'm opening a book, and I'll fold forward into my cobbler's pose, trying not to curl the spine, but trying to move into this pose with as much length as I can. And then once I've kind of hit my limit of that hinge I can do in my hips, I'll start to let my head relax down. Draw yourself up to sit on an inhalation, and we'll bring our soles of the feet to the floor again. I'm going to quarter turn. You guys can stay right where you are. Just make sure you have space behind you, because we're going to work our way down to the floor. But I know how much everybody loves some core work, so we'll add a little bit of core work in here. So we're going to keep our nice tall spine. As we inhale, we'll hinge back at least halfway, and then as we exhale, we'll return. So goal is like halfway to like 3/4 of the way down and maintaining neutral spine. I always want to exhale on my way back up, inhaling back and exhaling to return, inhaling back and exhaling to return one more time. And then we'll go ahead and add in some rotation. So we'll start seated nice and tall like we did before, both arms reaching out. We're gonna hinge back, rotate right, come back to center, and all the way up. Hinge back, rotate left, back to center, and all the way up. Let's do 2 more on each side. Right, center, and return. Hinge back, left, center, and return. 1 more on each side. And last one. Great, so we're seated upright again. Let's tuck the tail and curl the spine this time. And I want you to release yourself down as slowly as you possibly can. And then once you're down, we'll take our soles of the feet to the floor. The knees are pointing straight upwards. And we'll come into our half wheel. So pressing down into both feet, lifting the seat up high. You can keep your hands here down on the floor, or if you prefer, you can interlace them underneath you. Take your time to roll yourself down. And once you're down, just a little bit, scoot your feet away from each other so the knees can roll in towards each other. So I am going to offer the option of full wheel today. I know some people probably are not ready to do that since our yoga break, but if not, that's okay. You can do half wheel again, for either position, bring the knees back together, or back apart rather, and your feet closer together. Now, if you're doing the full wheel, or attempting to do so, you want to have your hands right underneath your shoulders. We're going to press into the hands and the feet to draw yourself to your head. And maybe you just stay there today. That's fine. If you're up for it, try to extend the arms straight. And again, you can do that first version that we did before instead. We're shooting for 5 deep breaths in this pose. And generally, we're shooting for at least 5 breaths in all of the poses we do. When you're ready, slowly release down. And rather than hugging the knees in towards the chest, I want to do a little hip opening. So we're going to have our feet nice and wide. We're going to take the right foot crossed over the left leg and roll both legs over towards the right. Keep the same foot on top and roll both legs over the other way. Keep the same leg on top, come back to center. And what we're going to do is take the left foot off the floor. I still have that crossover. And I'm interlacing my hands around my left leg to pull in. So there's a spot that the right arm can thread through between the legs to meet that left hand. Go ahead and release just your right leg all the way down onto the floor. Take a nice firm pull in with that left leg and then pull it over towards the right for an easy rotation. My left arm is just reaching out towards the left side. And then when I come back to center, I'll bend both knees, I'll make my feet nice and wide. I'll do all of that in reverse. So left foot crosses over and both legs roll towards the left. From here, we take both legs over to the right. I've still got the same leg on top. From here, we come back to center and we pull the shape in towards us. And then lastly, that top leg, your left leg extends all the way straight down on the floor. My right knee is going to be pulled over to the left. And then we'll go ahead and come back to center. So from here, I'm going to offer an optional shoulder stand. And those of you that know shoulder stand can come into it now. I will do a demo in a moment. Those of you that know that you're not going to do shoulder stand, you can take a yoga block or, as I'm doing today, a rolled up towel, a couch cushion, whatever you have handy, and you can scoot it right underneath your seat. So it's almost like you're in a supported half wheel position. And then once you feel that your pelvis is supported, you can take the knees in and then extend the legs up. And this is a great way to get the same benefits of an inversion without all of the neck flexion. Shoulder stand is a great pose, but it is quite a lot of neck flexion. And if you sit at a desk all day or drive a lot, or you have a tendency to kind of hunch your shoulders, putting your entire body weight into that position maybe isn't the best idea. So don't feel badly if you don't like to or can't do that pose. For the demo, if you're starting down on the floor, I like to rock back and forth a few times to build up some momentum, and then once my seat is up, I can quickly place my hands at the low back and then extend my legs like so. So a good rule of thumb here is holding this position at least 10 deep breaths, which is about 2 minutes. If you have trouble counting the breaths, you can also just hold it until you start to feel a little bit of a tingling in your toes. Now I realize some of you have already been up, so I'll talk you through the descent, and you can just do that later if you're still counting your 10 breaths or waiting for that toe tingle. So to come out of the position, the feet start to lower down. I'm still firmly holding my low back with my hands. Now once my feet are down as low as possible, I'm going to place my hands back down on the floor. And then I'm going to bend my knees and I'm going to slowly roll down with control. Now, once my pelvis is down, I like to extend my legs and then slowly lower my legs down so I get one more little core activation. And then once my legs are down, we want to do the opposite position of the neck. So we're going to come into fish pose, prop ourselves up on our elbows, expose the throat, let that head move in the opposite direction. And then when you're ready, you can carefully find a position to rest in. So I like to do a 5-minute rest generally. And you can lie in any comfortable position for you. Some people like to place something underneath their head. Some people like to place something rolled up underneath their knees. Some people even like to have their knees bent for this final relaxation. So totally up to you. I will rouse you guys momentarily. Let's begin to deepen our breathing. Feel the gentle rise and fall of the chest and the belly as the breath moves in and goes out. Begin to reach out through the arms and the legs, giving yourself a nice big stretch from tips of fingers to tips of toes. And then on an exhalation, draw your knees in towards your chest. And you can carefully roll over onto one side. From there, come up to a comfortable seated position. And you can always sit on a towel or a block or a pillow if that feels more comfortable in the hips. And we'll just close our eyes again briefly, just to feel the difference physically, mentally, in this position as opposed to when we started. Just observing it without over-analyzing it. On an inhalation, bring hands to heart center. And on an exhalation, bow forward to seal your practice.